of treating your home as an investment, and the philosophy that a pay rise means you can buy a big larger home or spend more is the foundation of today's debt ridden society. This process of increased spending throws families into greater debt and into more financial uncertainty. Even though they may be advancing in their jobs and receiving pay rises on a regular basis, this is high risk living caused by weak financial education. Let us support this paragraph with this example. Let's see. The massive loss of jobs in the 1990s, the downsizing of the businesses has brought to light how shaky the middle class really is financially. Suddenly, company pension plans are being replaced by 401k plans. Social Security is obviously in trouble and cannot be looked at as a source for retirement. Panic has set in for the middle class. The good thing today is that many of these people have recognized these issues and have begun buying mutual funds. This increase in investing is largely responsible for the huge rally we have seen in the stock market. Today, there are more and more mutual funds being created to answer the demand by the middle class, right? Mutual funds are popular because they represent safety. Average mutual fund buyers are too busy working to pay taxes and mortgages, save for their children's college, and pay off credit cards. They do not have time to study to learn how to invest, so they rely on the expertise of the manager of a mutual fund. Also, because the mutual fund includes many different types of investments, they feel their money is safer because it is diversified. This group of educated middle class subscribes to diversify dogma put out by the mutual fund brokers and financial planners. Play it safe, avoid risk. Let us support this statement by this example. The real tragedy is that the lack of early financial education is what creates the risk faced by average middle class people. The reason they have to play it safe is because their financial positions are tenuous at best. So when deals of a lifetime when genuine deals of a lifetime come along, those same people cannot take advantage of the opportunity. They must play it safe simply because they are working so hard, are taxed to the max, and are loaded with debt. As I said at the start of this section, the most important rule is to know the difference between an asset and a liability. Once you understand the difference, concentrate your efforts on only buying income generating assets. That is the best way to get started on a path to becoming rich. Keep doing that, and your asset column will grow. Focus on keeping liabilities and expenses down. This will this will make more money available to continue pouring into the asset column. Soon the asset base will be so deep that you can afford to look at more speculative speculative investments. Investments that may have returns of 100% to infinity. Investments that for $5,000 are soon turned into $1 million or more. Investments that the middle class calls too risky. The investment is not risky. It is the lack of simple financial intelligence, beginning with financial literacy, that causes the individual to be too risky. If you if you do what the masses do, you get the following picture. Income is equal to work for owner, expense is equal to work for government, asset is equal to none, liability is equal to work for the bank. As an employee who is also a homeowner, your working efforts are generally as follows. 1. You work for someone else. Most people working for a paycheck are making the owner or the shareholders richer. Your efforts and success will help provide for the owner's success and retirement. Right? 2. You work for the government. Here, what happening? The government takes its share from your paycheck before you even see it. By working harder, you simply increase the amount of taxes taken by the government. Most people work from January to May just for the government. This is how happens if you work for the government. 3. You work for the bank. How? After taxes, your next largest expense is usually your mortgage. What is mortgage? Loan that is obtained from the house by keeping house as a security, right? Loan obtained by keeping home as a security or a surety. Mortgage and credit card debt. The problem with simply working harder is that each of these three levels takes a greater share of your increased efforts. You need to learn how to have your increased efforts benefit you and your family directly. Once you have decided to concentrate on minding your own business, how do you set your goals? For most people, they must keep their profession and rely on their wages to fund their acquisition of assets, right? As their assets grow, how do they measure the extent of their success? When does someone realize that they are rich, that they have wealth, as well as having much, as well as having my own definitions for assets and liabilities? I also have my own definition for wealth. Actually, I borrowed it from a man named Buckminster Fuller. Some call him a quack, and others call him a living genius. Years ago, he got all the architects buzzing because he applied for a patent in 1961 for something called a geodesic dome. But in the application, Fuller also said something about wealth. It was pretty confusing at first, but after reading it for a while, it began to make some sense. Wealth is a person's ability to survive so many number of days forward. Or if I stopped working today, how long could I survive? Unlike net worth, the difference between your assets and liabilities, it is gives you a net worth, which is often filled with a person's expensive junk and opinions of what things are worth. This definition creates the possibility for developing a truly accurate measurement. I could now measure and really know where I was in terms of my goal to become financially independent. Although net worth often includes these non cash producing assets like stuff you bought that now sits into your garage. Wealth measures how much money your money is making and therefore your financial survivability. Wealth is a measure of cash flow from the asset column compared with the expense column. Let us let's use an example. Let's say I have cash flow from my asset column of SJ SJ 1000 a month. Asset column of $1,000 a month, and I have monthly expenses of 52,000. What is my wealth? Let's go back to Buckminster's Fuller's definition. Using this definition, how many days forward can I survive? And let's assume a 30-day month. By the definition, I have enough cash flow for half an month. Sorry. Let's use an example. Let's say I have cash flow from my asset column of $16,000 a month, and I have monthly expenses of 52,000. Right? What is my wealth? Let's go back to Buckminster's Fuller's definition. Using this definition, how many days forward can I survive? Right? How many days forward can I survive? And let's assume a 30-day month. By the definition, I have enough cash flow for half a month. When I have achieved $2,000 a month cash flow from my assets, then I will be wealthy, right? I will be wealthy. So I am not at rich, but I am wealthy. I know. So I am not at rich, but I am wealthy. I now have income generated from the assets each month that fully cover my monthly expenses, right? If I want to increase my expenses, I first must increase my cash flow from assets to maintain this level of wealth. Take notice that it is at this point that I have no longer am dependent on my wages. I have focused on and been successful in building an asset column that has made me financially independent. If I quit my job today, I would be able to cover my monthly expenses with the cash flow from my assets. That is what financial independency is really mean. My next goal would be to have the excess cash flow from my assets reinvested into the asset column. The more money that goes into my asset column, the more my asset column grows. The more my assets grow, the more my cash flow grows. And as long as I keep my expenses less than the cash flow from these assets, I will grow richer with more and more income from sources other than my physical labor. As this reinvestment process continues, I am well on my way to being rich. The actual definition of rich is in the eye of the beholder. You can never too you can never be too rich. The actual definition of rich is in the eye of the beholder. You can never be too rich. Just remember this simple observation. The rich buy assets. The poor only have expenses. The middle class buys liabilities they think are assets. So, how do I start minding my own business?